Senator Craughwell, you also have 8 minutes.
Thank you, Minister. I want to thank you for facilitating this debate at my request. As you know, Minister, the first official review of the 2015 White Paper on Defence is due to commence in July. Even though the 10-year White Paper is only in its 3rd year, the world has certainly changed place. Brexit and uncertainty of the hard border, increased international terrorism, cyber security, transnational organised crime, mass migration are all new challenges that the Defence Forces are facing. I have the utmost faith in your commitment and the capabilities of both the Department of Defence and military management to identify, map out and respond to the emerging situation, these challenges. But what does concern me and many other stakeholders is the internal threat to the capability and stability of the Defence Forces due to a developing crisis in personnel retention. There is an article in national newspapers nearly every day now, and while I've congratulated you, Minister, on the very successful recruitment campaign last year, this campaign is being systematically undermined by what can only be described as a crisis in retaining those who have recently been recruited, and in providing satisfactory contracts of employment for enlisted personnel, career paths, pay and conditions of employment for those who are already served. 84% of those serving in the Defence Forces earn 13.8% less than the national average. €20 for a 24-hour duty is not, to my mind, a true compensation. I agree with the White Paper that continuous recruitment is the lifeblood of the Defence Forces, providing young, motivated, enthusiastic personnel to replenish military formations for operational requirements. The White Paper provides a rolling manpower planning, but it does not appear to be working. An article in the Examiner today tells us that in 2016 alone, a total of 62 officers and 441 enlisted personnel left the Army, Navy and Air Corps voluntarily. Last October, I raised the issue of new recruits leaving the force to take up jobs in Tesco and warned that this crisis was coming down the line. You told us indeed, Minister, that there were 790, I think it was, who joined, but of that group, just give me 2 seconds here, of that group that joined, 712, 576 left while in training. 576 left while in training, and a further 31 cadets, which has absolutely blown me away that cadets would actually walk out of the Defence Forces. Not your fault, Minister, there are issues there. In total, across the Defence Forces, a total of 2,496 recruits started training between 2013 and 2017. To date, 641 of them have left. In the same period, a total of 2,831 personnel left, representing a total of 29.8% of the entire Defence Forces. Some 76% of those retiring were premature voluntary retirements, with 34% of them having served 5 years or less. I understand that in 2019 a significant number of NCOs will be leaving the forces, and we know that they are the lifeblood of any unit. Indeed, the NCOs are the culture-forming members of any unit. Officers come and go, the NCOs remain on. They serve in something which seems to be something that has passed over the head of the policymakers. The brain and manpower drain is now at a level which could not have been envisaged by the White Paper, which makes scant reference to the issue of retention in the first place. In fact, it's conspicuous by its absence in the White Paper, which again points to a failure of policy and a failure of the policymakers. I'd like to know if the Department has yet gotten a retention policy in place, and if it does, can the details of that be released? As you said yourself, Minister, the figure of 9,500 established PDF personnel provide for the full staffing of each unit within the Defence Forces organisational structure. We know that strengthened station is the key figure, and we have seen in recent weeks how that has impacted on the 2nd Brigade, and in particular on the 27th Infantry Battalion, where we had 3 captains and 2 lieutenants running an entire battalion. They have been augmented recently by 1 commandant. This is an outrageous breakdown in command and control, Again, it's an operational issue, Minister. You can't be out there running operational things. The current exodus is playing havoc with this. Several times last year, the strength of the Defence Forces dipped below 9,000. We hear personnel being redeployed to areas far from their home and acting up for long durations of time. In some cases, there's a complete breakdown of command and control. There will be accidents. Already there have been 3 near misses with .5 heavy machine guns, and if such an accident takes place, Minister, and if lives are lost, where will the indemnity lie? Who will be liable? Will it go the whole way up to the department, or will it stop at the individual, the senior officer who's in charge? You can't have a captain in charge of a battalion. It's simply not workable. The jury is out on the 2-brigade structure, but it will be difficult to assess and review it with the current crisis in retention. The ripple effect of retention is enormous. For a start, there is a cost of $4 million in replacing the officers that have left and $11 million in replacing the enlisted personnel. That's $15 million in the drain so far. Many are leaving in training, as I said. There is a loss of institutional and organisational knowledge, loss of motivation and morale, as outlined in the University of Limerick Climate Survey. What's most worrying is the personnel from all ranks, specialties are leaving. Personnel from all ranks and specialties are leaving. Much is made of the fact that those leaving are highly skilled technical personnel, such as pilots, ordnance engineers, marine engineers, aeronautical engineers and other specialties. Minister, that only accounts for 30% of those who have left. The other 70% is made up of general service enlisted men and women. Last year, Minister, the Naval Service received well-deserved national and international recognition for its humanitarian missions in the Mediterranean. Yet at home, the service is in crisis. We had a ship, the P-52 L.E. Neve, put to sea with just 4 able seamen on board. 1 minute. Thank you. It's reckless to think that an asset worth over $50 million is sent to sea understaffed. What happens if a fire takes place on board? Are there crew there to take care of these things? I don't think so. If they're called into an operational situation, are they capable of handling it? I don't believe they are. What's happening with respect to drug interdiction patrols and human trafficking, which the Naval Service is responsible for? I want to go on and talk about the Air Corps. 50 pilots gone. Pilots are being offered jobs in the private sector, as my colleague said, of up to 200,000. Another issue is the lack of qualified CASA pilots. I wonder, does the CASA take off at all anymore, Minister? Again, this is not an issue for you, it's an issue for the operational people, but I would ask you to see if you can get that matter addressed. Minister, I know that the Defence Forces themselves have a number of recommendations that they would like, not least of which would be a pay review body that is separate to those who serve in uniform, because the one-size-fits-all of the national pay rounds does not fit the uniformed services. So I would ask that we look on that. Minister, finally, focusing on the low paid is one thing, but by raising the pay of the lower paid and leaving the ranks above not getting an increase in pay, what you're doing is closing the gap between lower and upper on the next line up. So in actual fact, the people that are up the ranks are getting tired and they are deciding to leave. I had a text today from a woman, her husband 50, 3 young children, and he finishes because he has to on an age basis, and he has nowhere to go. Nothing to do. So, Minister, I know that you're about to review the White Paper, and I know that you're about to relook at the reorganisation that took place in 2012, and I wish you luck with it, and if I can be of any help, I will try. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Craughwell. Next speaker is Senator Colin Burke, and you also have 8 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Last go here, look, and welcome, Minister, to the House. I won't be taking 8 minutes because I think, in fairness, Minister, you've set out a very comprehensive